Welcome to the Town Board Workshop and Public Hearing Thursday, June 4th, 2015. Please rise. Salute the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Emergency exits are to my right, from the town clerk and also the door you came in. Roll, please.
Councilman Delango.
Here.
Councilwoman Doyle. Here. Councilman Perotti.
Present.
Supervisor Perotti.
Here.
And let it be noted, Councilwoman Hitzelberger made contact and she's going to be running approximately a half hour late.
This time I'd like to close the regular meeting and open the public meeting. I make a motion to open the public hearing for local law for junkyards.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Is there any public comment?
No one has signed up to speak.
Okay, I make a motion to close the public hearing for local law for junkyards. Would you like to? Okay.
Sauter, Wassaic. Having read through your local law and so on, it brings me back 20 years ago. We cleaned up several back roads. It cost thousands of dollars. The back roads are full again. We could clean them up many times. We need a place to put vehicles, and our laws just don't fit what is going on. The back roads will continue to be filled up. The public does not have places to put cars, papers, and all of the sundry things that you have listed here. Regulation, yes. Deregulation, that's usually what comes right after regulation. I wish you luck on this kind of material. I would hope that as a board we could find other ways of helping people to remove from their place and to dispose of properly. Not over the banks, not into the rivers, not alongside the road. Thank you for your time.
Is there any other public comment on in the public hearing for local law for junkyards?
I'll second it.
Well, I make a motion to close the public hearing and return to regular meeting.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Yes.
Any opposed?
Public comment?
Tonya Shumatov.
Good evening, members of the board. I'm Tonya Shumatov, and I'm speaking as a resident of the hamlet of Wassaic, not as a representative of the Houstonic Valley Association or as a writer for the Millbrook Independent.
Bless you.
It's come to my attention, and it's been my intention to draw to your attention that there's been repeated loud noises of shooting that you can hear throughout the hamlet of Wassaic. I noticed it starting actually last October, and there are also loud blasts. So I'm going to read you something that I just got today in my email and a complaint that was filed to the town, if that's okay, from a resident. I believe Victoria knows about this complaint.
Yeah.
The shooting
forwarded.
began again after several days of no activity today. That's today. It started at 4:10 and went on until 5 p.m. I counted about 200 shots and 3 loud blasts from at least 2 different types of guns. I'm not going to name the person who sent me the email. October 16th, 2014, sent to John Fenton. I wish to complain about gunfire coming from a property near Benson Road in Wassaic. Kevin Brennan, Bedford Hills, parcel number 138510, Route 22, Wassaic, New York. The owners or users of parcel number 138510 have for the past several months been shooting on the property, causing significant distress to residents in the area of Wassaic. And I live right in the center of Wassaic, and it's been very loud. You can hear the blasts, and it ricochets off the sides of the mountains because we're in a gorge. The shooting has usually taken place on weekends as well as during the week. As residents of a rural area, we're used to some gunfire, but this is excessive. For example, on weekends, the shooting starts at around noon and continues until the evening. During the week, it starts at around 4 and ends around darkness, as it did just yesterday. The number of rounds fired often exceeds 20 shots per minute with rapid fire bursts of up to 10, and is often punctuated by loud explosions that rock the neighborhood with shockwaves. I have not counted the actual number of shots in a day, but I'm certain that it's on the order of several hundred. This has been the typical activity on weekends and during the week. I have a sound level meter that registers on the A scale and recorded readings of the shooting that were 30 to 35 decibels higher than the ambient readings, and that did not include the very loud explosions. The property in question used to belong to Alan Shope, and before that to Sean Flynn, and is directly west of the neighborhood of Wassaic. We're probably 150 feet lower than where the shooting is happening, but in a direct line with it. There is a small building that is visible on Google Earth on the west side of Route 22 and a steep road leading, hold on, just lost my place, and a steep road leading to a clear-cut area on top of the ridge. The road has been improved with clear cutting of an area around 30,000 square feet. This is the person speaking who submitted this, not me. I've discussed this with several of my neighbors, and we all agree that the shooting is really disturbing our rights as accorded by Amenia Town Code and zoning. The state police have been notified, and we have filed formal complaints with them today. That was in October. We will also be in touch with the Dutchess County Sheriff's Office. We sent your office, that's the town of Amenia, a complaint on the May 5th, 2014, but we did not receive a reply or an acknowledgement. Well, apparently this complaint did receive an acknowledgement. So I would just like to say that this is not hunting, okay? This is not during hunting season. This is loud, obnoxious, really loud, explosion-like. We're not ISIS here, okay? People who are coming up here and thinking from Westchester that this is going to be a playground, you know, they think, okay, yeah, everybody shoots here, there's no zoning, we can do what we like, we're from Westchester, it's our play yard. It's not their play yard. They're people who live here who pay taxes, and we don't want to hear that kind of disturbance in our backyards. It's disturbing our peace of mind and our ability to enjoy our properties. And I think it needs to stop. And you need to look into who is it that's doing it and what is their background. And do they have a license, a gun license, proper gun license? They have obviously been building houses and things up there without permits. That's not okay. If they're the Brennans, I seem to remember from Bedford Hills, there were some Brennans that did not have a very good reputation. I live in Bedford. So I think you need to look into this. You've heard it from many different members, and nothing has happened since last May. It's time to do something about it before you face another class action suit from the group of people in Wassaic who are extremely unhappy about this.
Well, you just forwarded me
Yes.
all the emails.
Yeah, including your former zoning chair. So please take note. This is a serious situation, and it's disturbing a beautiful hamlet where there's children and lovely people coming in, and we don't want to hear it. Thank you.
Thank you for bringing it to our attention. We'll do a full investigation to see what's happening with that.
Norm Fontaine.
Hi, everybody. Norm Fontaine, Amenia, Chairman of the Planning Board. I just wanted to stop by and give a recommendation that the town board reconsider possibly using John Fenton, the previous building inspector, for the Silo Ridge project as it comes on board down the line. The reasons are pretty simple. John's been with the project and very familiar with it for several years now. So going into such a project, the familiarity he's got, the ability to understand how things got to where they are today, it's going to be real important that the building inspector has that background and knows why things were agreed to, why things weren't agreed to, and what are the real concerns with the project that need to be monitored more closely than others. John's also demonstrated the ability. He's a strong guy. He's capable of handling the folks at the silo. He's dealt well with the planning board. He's dealt well with the consultants for the planning board. He's also done well with the people at Silo Ridge. So he's got the ability to work with all the parties that are involved in this process, and that's also real important. He's demonstrated the ability. It's going to be a hard position to fill with somebody with the same kind of ability. I know you've talked about utilizing a consultant in that capacity.
We haven't made any decisions.
No, but I guess there's been discussions about doing so. I'd kind of encourage you not to reinvent the wheel. You've got a person that has the ability to deal with this kind of project. He's demonstrated it over and over, not just to me, but the consultants that we deal with. I'm sure they would give a similar recommendation. I know I've talked to Dave Everett, the planning board's attorney, and he's zoning board of appeals attorney. He's very much in favor of keeping John in that position, again, because of John's familiarity with it. And I'd just like you to give some consideration to that process. And I know there's been questions about how can John afford to put in those kind of hours in that project. I mean, we've all worked 2 jobs at one time in our life or another. We've all had kids, raised families, had a job full-time, went to school full-time while you were doing all that. I did. And I don't think John's any less able than I am or any of you in doing that. He works a job for another town at this point, but he's capable of working 10 hours, 12 hours, or whatever he sees as being necessary to ensure that the silo project moves forward the way it should and is monitored properly. He's got the ability, so please give it consideration and as you move forward, and it's my recommendation. I know that of many other people familiar with the project also. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
Marilyn Noe.
Marilyn Noe, Amenia, New York. I have a letter that I would like to read to you, and it's from Tom Werner. Tom's been working out in his garden, and you know he's not the youngest anymore, and he's overdone it. He's just really, he's under the weather. And I'm going to give this a copy of the letter to each one of you and to Denise. To Victoria Parati, Amenia's town supervisor, and all council persons, from William Thomas, Tom Werner of Wassaic, New York, local law for junkyards. I strongly recommend the Amenia Town Board give serious consideration to a $1 million reclamation bond for the junkyard law, as oil spillage and other hazardous waste materials often occur in the operation of junkyards. Thank you for listening to this urgent request. Again, I'm just going to pass these out. Victoria, do you know if Gretchen is going to be attending tonight?
I would think so.
She's coming
Will you
a
give
little
that to Dawn?
Okay.
Dawn needs
I
to
have
have
one
one.
more thing to comment, and I just like Gretchen to be present. Denise, for you. You're welcome. And I thank you very much.
Is there any other public comment? Okay, supervisor's report. I attended a consolidated funding application, a CFA meeting, on May 29th. The consolidated funding application is the application that you have to complete in order to apply for a multitude of grants that the state offers. Were three groups that we broke out into. One was for upstate revitalization, business assistance. The second group was community development. The third was energy efficiency and environmental management. What happens with these grants is whatever group the grant is under has 80% control over who gets the grant, and then the local regional council members for the Mid-Hudson area would have 20%. One of the grants that the group that I sat in, Mike Haggerty also went, and he sat in on the Upstate Revitalization Business Assistant grant group. I went to the Community Development Group, and one of the grants is Recreational Trails Program, where there's we could apply for $250,000 for Trail to the Train. It's planning and construction eligible. There's a state pre-qualification and a design report required. And we would be able to apply for this because it relates to statewide trails plan, and also it has a design report. So we're going to be looking into that. There's also Environmental Protection Fund has $16 million available. The maximum grant is $500,000 for planning, development, acquisition, and property has to be on the historic register. And then whoever applies for the grant has to have ownership interest. They also had a group on Council of the Arts. And then I went to the second group, which was watershed revitalization. Is actually a lot of water grants. There was the watershed revitalization grant is for watersheds. It's not just, I originally went to that group thinking it was all coastal water. It's not. It's watershed revitalization. It's a 50-50 grant. And it's they have a list of all the waterways that would be included in that grant. The Department of State also has a local government efficiency grant of $7.9 million. The CFA, you can apply for $4 million. It would be for like shared services. You'd have to give fiscal information, have a budget and a work plan, and application review. There is also grants for water and wastewater, and I sent them on to the board, the information on the existing grants. Any of the grants have to be applied for. There's a deadline of July 31st. So we'll be looking at all the different areas. There's several grants. There's several $1 million available. For the Recreational Trails Grant Program, there's up to $1.2 million available. For the Local Water Revitalization Program, there's also several $1 million available. So Mike Haggerty and I and any of the board members who would like to can look through this information and look to see what grants that we can apply for or what in particular we want to focus on. I received an email from the Southern Berkshire Amateur Radio Club. They're going to have their open house on June 27th through 28th for their annual field day in 2015. They're there for 2 days between 2 p.m. on Saturday and 12 noon on Sunday. It's their National Field Day. So mark your calendars and make sure you stop by. I actually got on the radio and was having a conversation with someone in North Carolina. It was, you know, they really have a very active club, and I encourage anybody who's interested to go. Town clerk report.
Good evening. The 2015 tax collection is no longer being accepted at this location. For any parcels that taxes are still due, you may pay your town and county taxes to the Commissioner of Finance located at 22 Market Street in Poughkeepsie. The May 7th and the May 21st minutes have been circulated to the board. Comments have been added or deleted, and this evening I'm seeking approval of those minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the May 7th and May 21st town board minutes.
I'll second.
Councilman Delango?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Councilman Prodi?
Yes.
And Supervisor Prodi.
Yes.
At this time, we've advertised for the open ZBA position. I've received 3 applications of interest for the open ZBA seat. The packets haven't been distributed until, I know if you wanted to set a date and we can interview. The 3 candidates are Kevin Casson, David Rosenberg, and Jeff Barnett Winsby. So those 3. Now Kevin does indicate he's looking for, he's already a current member of the ZBA, but he's indicated he's interested in the chairman position. The other volunteer applications don't state specifically as chairman, but we do have the open seat that we need to fill for the vacancy of Leo Blackman.
With the town board would appoint the chair.
And the town board does appoint the chair. So once you fill that open seat, you'll have 5 candidates that you can pick from at that point. So, do you want to pick a time so we can?
Contract the 11th.
Thursday, the 11th?
Is that, we have a planning board meeting on the 10th, but I don't see anything on the 11th.
Time? Do you want to start earlier? 6 o'clock? There's only 3 of them, so.
Gretchen has a hard time getting here at 6. I'd say 7:30 would work
Yeah.
for Gretchen better.
Want to do 7:30?
I think 6 o'clock is fine.
With the other interview I'd like to do at that time, there was also a request to interview an attorney candidate for assessor. So I'd like to do that at that time also.
Do we have a date that he's available?
He's available Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday.
Oh, right. So why don't we try Thursday, the 11th, and if he's not available, well, he is available on the 11th.
Yes, he is.
He's
So if people are generally available on Thursdays, that would probably be a good sign.
I mean, Thursday, the 11th is fine for me. But like I said, we should probably do it later so Gretchen's here. I mean, I know she works in the city. If we could set it at 7:30.
Well, why can't we just do it at 7 o'clock? That's when we usually do our regular board meeting.
Because I think she actually leaves early to make the regular board meetings. I mean, a half an hour, you know.
I would actually prefer to do it at 6 since they're interviews. Because, I don't think it's a good idea to, a lot of these people are volunteers. They're coming in to come in their time. I think 6 o'clock is more than fair for an interview process. We should be keeping them here to all hours of the night. Those are my thoughts.
I'm better with 7:30.
I'll make a motion that we try to set a special meeting to hold interviews on Thursday, June 11th, and I'll just split the difference at 7 o'clock.
Okay. So what I'll do is,
Gretchen has to miss a few. She does, but she doesn't miss the whole thing.
I'll begin with the volunteer applications, and then I'll schedule the attorney at the later time. because the first applicant, she's gonna not sit in
Okay.
for anyway.
Okay. That's fine, because he said he could come anytime.
Okay, and that concludes my report this evening.
Do we need to vote? We have a motion on the floor.
I also need a second.
Second it.
Stephen. Councilman Delango?
We're voting on the time on Thursday
She has a
Date and
special
time.
meeting
We're
for June
voting
11th
for
at
the
7
date.
o'clock.
for 11 at 7 o'clock.
Yes.
I should still say it's 7:30 just to accommodate another board member, so I'm going to have to say
Say
no.
no? Okay.
Yes.
So Doyle, Councilman,
Yeah, maybe she should be recused since it's her husband that's being voted on.
Excuse me,
Councilman
please
Brody?
don't shout out from the floor. We're in the middle of a vote.
gotta say a little louder.
I
so-
said yes.
And Supervisor Brody.
Yes.
So the motion does carry.
But I would say that's a good point, is that if we could schedule Kevin at 7.
That's what I said,
Yeah,
but I
Okay.
didn't
Is that
say it the
right?
way it was
So
said
then-
from the audience. That was,
she misses.
that was my implication to the board members.
Okay.
That
You done?
concludes my report this evening.
Is there a building department report? No. Any committee reports?
Committee.
Yes.
Do tonight's water committee meeting instead of next meeting. I have another obligation that Thursday, but we had gutters that we were going to talk about tonight. The gutter bids that came in,
Yes.
gutter proposals that came in. So I wanted to review those tonight with you. There's 3 of them. Looking for recommendation on your end.
It's an agenda item.
That's a great name.
Okay, we have re-estimate triangle seamless gutters at $341.25. RHJ Construction, $825. And the brothers that just do gutters, $670.
Can't make this up.
And these are for the Washington Court Pump House.
Correct.
And they're for essentially the same
Excuse me?
product. It's essentially.
It's all the
for
same product, aluminum gutter, nothing special, just,
Just the basics.
you know,
Just a
I must
gutter.
have called, honestly, probably 10, 12 people. Only 3 gave us bids. We're so far out of the area for such a small job. I mean, it's a 30-foot gutter with a downspout. It's really nothing, it's really nothing special. And I even had one guy look at it, came up on a Saturday, myself and Stanley, he was gonna do it for $250 that day. And I can't approve it. And he wanted to be paid right there that day, he would've done it for $250. I had to deny it. I asked him to send in a quote, he never did. So, I mean,
That's too bad.
Okay.
you know, I asked Stanley if he wanted to authorize it, but, you know, that was a no-go. But,
Does anybody have any questions?
they're all the same product, there's,
I move that we choose Triangle Seamless Gutters to do the gutter job
For,
for
300.
$341.25.
I'll second that.
Councilman Delango?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Councilman Brody?
Yes.
Supervisor Brody?
Yes.
I ask one thing, can you just tell me his phone number on there? I think I have it, but I just want to confirm. I don't have the paperwork.
845-298-0496.
Great. Okay,
And you'll
Um,
let the other 2 know that they didn't get the
Yep.
bid?
I'll let them know. And so going back to the month of May, I know May talked about it last meeting. We had a water leak that was in an old galvanized water line that just pretty much eroded on our side, unfortunately, on the service side between the main and the shutoff valve on 343. During that discovery, we also found 2 of the old original water lines that were there. They're still in the ground. They're not active. They're cut. We cut them out of the way. But other than that, it's been pretty quiet this month, thank God. The rest of the month, that was a big enough headache with that, dealing with that issue over there. We had to tunnel under the state road and use specialized equipment to shoot the line under, and pulling it back across was extremely difficult because it was so wet and just kept collapsing. The clay ground there absorbs water, it keeps all the water in and won't let the water go out anywhere, so the ground kept collapsing underneath the state road, and we did the best we could and finally got it across. They're hooked up. That line should last probably everybody's lifetime and the next 2 or 3 generations. So water mains are still good. We are also going to be doing on June 18th. I'm just going to do it for the heck of it. Not something that we have to do, but I'm going to do it. Pressure testing and flow testing our fire hydrants with Neuric-Roll water, and that is part of just informational. It's free. It's going to take probably a day or 2 to do it. It's a 2-man operation. During that time, we'll be flushing the hydrants, because to do the flow test, you're flushing the hydrants. You're actually opening one hydrant and then down the street opening up another hydrant with special gauges attached to it and see how much drops off. So you do static pressure, and then you do on full demand. I'll be honest, we're going to have very poor results, I'm sure. So our water mains are just way undersized. It's not uncommon for rural areas.
Do we have to advertise when you're flushing?
You can if you want. I mean, just to make people
Put
aware.
it
You see
on
pressure
Route 20
drops.
Put it on 22?
Yeah,
so
put it on
that people know
22,
what's going
January
on?
18th and, June 19th and 18th and 19th. Put that on, just in case.
During the day or
During the
overnights?
day. It's going to be all day long. So you're going to see fluctuating pressures throughout the district. You might see some discolored water.
Yeah, I think that should be on 22 on the website,
Yeah.
so that people know what's
It's not
going
that it's
on.
going to be a long time per hydrant, but it's going to, people may notice. All right. Water usage, I'm estimating about that leak in May was probably about 10,000 gallons per day that we were losing over there. Wasn't a big leak by any means, it's just a small leak that when you touch the pipe, it actually just disintegrated, fell apart in our hands. Everything else was pretty much normal. All samples passed. Now we're starting to get into summer, so starting the next few months, we're going to be doing specialized sampling. It's our annual sampling for the health department has us do. So you're going to see some bills coming in more than it's just the coliform samples. They'll be starting to come in. Okay. That's it. Nothing else going on. I also ordered some parts to backfill low inventory. So you'll see a bill from that for Volano Brothers for some new service line. You're going to see some stainless steel stiffeners that we use at the end of the service lines when we put compression fittings on, and new curb valves, which we have very low inventory. We have 1 curb valve left in stock, 3/4 inch. So you'll start seeing some of those. Okay.
Just want to say that you guys did a great job. You and Stan, and really hunkered down on that 343 job.
Thank you. It was difficult. We were
Yeah,
very
definitely.
tired at the end of the day. It was strictly muscle back and forth pulling that thing. No machines could do it, so it was a pain. Any questions? Okay.
I just want to let people know that there's now a link on the website where you can pay your water bills online. The next billing, we're also going to put a note on the water bills to let people know that they now have that capability.
Yeah. To bring, another thing I probably going to mention to the board, during that time period when we had that line that rotted out there over in that individual's house, I want to thank Larry Havens. He helped us out. What we did is we purchased food grade water line and brought the water from the house next door, which was Larry Havens' house, over to them so they could stay in water for the week while we were able to gather parts and special equipment to tunnel onto the road and work with the DOT to get everything approved. And he was more than helpful. What I would like to do is have the board approve that he pays just a flat rate, because he was feeding 2 houses, and help them out, and also helped us out. So we were able to keep the customer in water, and I would suggest that we would probably keep him as a flat rate for the quarter. So it'd be like a $40 rate. the overage there, and that his house is never high anyway, so it's not a high usage house.
I'd make a motion that we allow Larry Havens's property to remain at the basic rate
Just for this quarter, yeah.
for this quarter
Yep.
to account for the generosity that he gave to the
Yep.
houses that did not have water.
Mhm.
I'll second that.
Councilman Delango?
Yes.
Councilman Hitzelberger?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Councilman Perotti?
Yes.
And Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Have a good evening.
Marco, I did have one question. I'd requested a copy of the report that you sent to the fire department.
Never sent a report to the fire company. There's no report sent because there was no request from the insurance company yet. The insurance company has not
Okay.
done the inspection yet.
When they
So
do, please forward
If there,
copy.
whatever they request, there will be a copy of it sent to the board.
Terrific, thank
Yep,
you.
Thank you.
Historian?
Good evening, everybody. Town historian Arlene Giuliano. First with a couple of reports to let you know what I've been doing. I did attend the Locust Grove event, which was held in Poughkeepsie under the auspices of Dutchess County historian. It was titled A Hands-On History. So I brought him some hands-on history, basically, about farming and the boys on the farm who played baseball. And so I had a couple bats from my kids who Mickey Mantle bats from way back, and some little toys they could do, and some arts and crafts. But to be honest, the young people don't do too much of that, but I never give up on that kind of thing. But Will Tatum, who was Dutchess County historian, is the one who coordinated this event for the region. It was not just Dutchess County, it was regional and had aspects of attracting tourists, for tourism, as well as telling everybody who we are to a certain extent, that we were allowed to the topic to use. And but baseball, that means the Monarchs are the only town on this side of the county that has a team. You guys may know it, maybe everybody else knows it. But they play over in Connecticut, Massachusetts. But that did surprise me because I haven't been able to get to these games, but I did my thing when I was a kid on that. But anyway, it excited a few people because baseball does ring a bell with some people, but I think it's, the fact that that is the only team on this side, I couldn't believe it, but I had to believe it. But anyway, I did promote it, and that was what Will said, okay, do that. Then I will be participating in the 150th of the 150th, which is a Civil War enactment event down in Dover. That's next weekend. Next weekend's a pretty busy weekend. And I set up a table there and have displays and keep us in the loop as much as possible, gang. That's what I try to do. And
That's
Saturday
Heritage,
that
is
weekend
that Heritage Days?
Pardon?
Is that Heritage Days?
The Heritage Days was the one I just talked about at Locust Grove. The 150th.
No, there's another, when I was at Boyce Park, Brad Kendall was putting up posters for Heritage Days down there in Dover.
That could be. At this point, I can't say.
I think it was June 13th and 14th it was going to be.
That could be, there's a number of events going on and they conflict. But this event I'm talking about is out here in Dover, and it's a Civil War enactment. The Civil War is basically, that period is through because the war supposedly ended in April of 1865. But anyway, they are doing an event down there, and I'm just trying to bring it to the attention of you and and the people in the community to try to attend. Amenia historian will, and Historical Society will be there. So that's 2 upcoming. But I will say that Dutchess County historian is a busy guy, and he keeps us busy, which is good, in my opinion. Now I have a couple of questions. One is about the status of the steelwork sign. Well, this is a question and a statement as well. We're down to working and letting the Dutchess County Public Works decide and agree and decide with us where to put the historic marker sign that is still in your
I know,
front
but
office.
have they given you an answer?
The last answer I had was that Steve Gill, who is with Public Works in Dutchess County,
Yeah.
has been informed he and Stan have to work together to finalize the location. Dave Reagan went with Stan, because I'm not that great at walking around some of these places right now, or ever again, but anyway, the Historic Society is the group that really wanted a marker there. They suggested having one in the steelworks area. I'm letting them work with the county.
Well, it sounds like Stan's taking care of that.
Yes, but I have been in contact with them. I have been keeping a follow-up with this particular thing that we have to do, which is
Right.
place that sign.
Okay.
But it's Census County Route 81. That means we've got to work with the county. That doesn't mean that we're going to have to, that Stan can't install it, that our town highway can't install it. To my understanding, the immediate
Well,
town
he's already planning to do it, and he's working with
Right.
Steve Gill and Dave.
Right.
So that's all in process, in progress.
Right.
So you
but
just need to call them to see where they are with it.
it isn't quite that easy, Victoria, in the sense of once you call, you're going to get the thing done. This time, there is another agency that has to be involved, so it's
What agency is that?
the County Public Works.
Okay, but he's working on it. The last I knew,
I know, I'm
spoke
only
with him.
reporting on it as the town historian,
Okay.
the one who got the
But I just
signage in the
didn't
first
know
place.
if
That's
there
all.
was.
I'm just following up.
I know, but I didn't know if there was an actual date yet that they were going to.
Well, I
put
had
it
hoped
in.
there would be. They wanted to put it in the 3rd week in May, but 3rd week of May is gone, so therefore there's an issue that has to be resolved apparently between Dutchess County and I'm saying this. That doesn't mean it's anything at all, but just a matter of time before they put it in.
Well, I'm not aware of any issue, but I'll call Stan and talk to him about it.
I'm not either, really. But I'm just reporting on it. That's all
Okay.
I'm doing. I do try to follow up on what I've been involved in, to the best of my ability.
Yeah, we'll check and see what date it is, and,
Yeah.
if we want to have any kind of
Because the Historic Society wanted a presentation made at the time. Now, whether it has to be at the time it's installed or whether after, that's something else, that's involved this time. When we had the other signage down at on Route 22 there, we didn't have anything like that. We didn't have a
Okay.
presentation. This time there's another factor involved, so that's all. And that always slows things down. That's nothing.
Well, I'll follow up and see where they are in the
Okay, you
process.
see where they, right. because-
Yeah, and I'll get back to you.
But I have kept on it, so. Then I would like to know, what's the status of the pamphlet?
Well, what I'm going to be doing with it is I looked at some of the brochures that you dropped off, and the one that you guys did, it's a little bit bigger, a bigger fold out. And what I can do with it is I'm going to actually add some more to it so we can have that information that you wanted from the
Yeah,
old
well,
one.
that's right. Okay, we don't need all that information.
Well, a
That's
good
it.
portion of, so what I'm planning on, and I've already started working on it,
Okay,
and I'll show it to you when I'm done with it, and
Okay.
I'll get your seal of approval. And if you want to
Well,
add more
listen.
stuff,
Whatever you got, no.
yeah,
But it does need more
It's
information
definitely going to
in it.
have more information in it.
Yeah.
And you know, it's actually allowed me to expand the size of the rail trail map, which is
Yeah, which is a good idea.
which is a great idea.
Yeah.
And but also to allow for more pictures of Amenia and more information, so to speak. Okay, and but I'm gonna let you take a look at it, the rough draft, and then we'll go from there. Is that
Yeah.
satisfactory or?
Yeah, just as long as it's moving along, because we don't have anything right now.
Yep.
And I like to distribute this kind of stuff, I'll do that,
Yep.
as I said before, and I will do it when it's finished. I just want to be sure it's moving.
Yep, it's moving.
Yeah, okay, and I'll work with Monique, if she's involved, which
Well, yeah.
she did
I'll give
work
her
on
the-
it.
Yeah, she did. She did.
Steve, she did work on it,
Yes, she
and
did.
yes, okay.
Yes, she did.
And she needs to be recognized for that
Yep.
and then for her efforts. And I just, I'm glad to hear you that we're going to keep on going and
Oh yeah, it's
Get
gonna
one
look,
that's-
it's gonna be good.
it's just, okay.
The finished product.
All
is
right.
gonna look nice. You'll be happy with it.
And if you want, you can take the cost of it out of my expense line, which is, what, $250. I haven't put any vouchers in yet. That's basically for, print ink from my own printer, for some of the supplies I use at the events that I do attend for the town and participate in. But you can use that line if you need it. I mean, this is a voluntary position, Anyway,
Okay.
which a lot of people are voluntary. All right?
No
So
problem.
thank you.
No problem.
Is there any other committee reports? Do you have anything?
I'll discuss the CAC and if you want me to, I could do that now, the status of the zoning text amendment request for
Sure.
the OC district. I circulated to the town board members get my notes, I'm sorry.
I gave them a copy.
The information that I was able to get from our old zoning lawyer who helped us with our comprehensive plan and our zoning laws throughout most of the phase, 7 years of looking at that. And I reviewed with him, David Everett's, just verbally over the phone, as you allowed me to, David Everett's suggestions for amending the zoning code with the text amendment to allow the following language: solid waste management facilities as defined. At any rate, it's basically allowing composting in the OC districts throughout the town. So he felt it sounds like only a portion of that land, the Buffontes, for instance, has a section that is in the Primary Valley bottom, in the PVA district, but where if we use the special use permit and require that of applicants who wanted to create a composting district, a composting facility in the OC district, they would have to have a special use district, which would prevent them, protect the aquifer from those kind of activities. In other words, if they were to allow, to provide the special use, if you were to allow an applicant to get a special use permit, then it would not be allowed in the Primary Valley bottom areas of that parcel. And the Buffontes, for instance, has plenty of land outside of that. So I don't know if you were able to see Nina Peak's map. It shows just a little section of the parcel along Route 22 that's in the, that has Primary Valley bottom aquifer frontage. But I spoke to the applicant today, and he said there's no problem, on the rest of the land. And obviously it would be a type 1 action for them to follow through if we do decide to go ahead with the text amendment. And the applicant said absolutely he would be interested in going forward and preparing the secret documents. And I think at the same time, the town board would move forward with making all of the, proposed changes as needed. He suggested, in addition to having our lawyer put together the proposed amendments, also having our planner take a look at it and make sure it's consistent with our comprehensive plan. And Joel Russell thought there was no trouble with the new change being compatible with our comprehensive plan, because in the course of that, we recognized this was an agricultural community. Our roots were in agriculture, as long as it wasn't disturbing the historic, cultural, scenic, water resources, meaning the aquifer. It had access to good road frontage, appropriate for trucks and that kind of activity. Then this perfectly fits, and we can control it with the special use district. I'm sorry, this is a long way of getting around to it, but there are ways that so in general, Joel Russell thought it was fine. There was no charge for my discussion with him. He thought it was in line. The CAC also agreed pretty much that it's in line with the intent of what we wanted to do. We just wanted to make sure that the protections were there. One thought that my husband had in reading this is that in the third point of David Everett's email of April 21st, it's very important to have this language in there, the aerobic thermophilic decomposition, specified in our definition, because he said that what's happening down on at McEnroe's is that they have anaerobic required by the DEC in that instance, and that's why you have the smell. But if you have an anaerobic thermophilic decomposition, there shouldn't be the kind of odors that they're experiencing when you get an anaerobic. So he did agree with this definition that David Everett had come up with. The other thing that Nina Peak had noticed or presented to us, and I thought it was very helpful, is that, while the DEC would regulate the operation of the composting facility, it would be up to the town to regulate the use of that property. And in number 6, let's see, in our town law 12150, solid waste facilities and industrial uses, our point number 6 was an important addition that provides that the applicant may be required to pay annually into an environmental inspection fund to enable the town to monitor the facility's performance and compliance with applicable standards using qualified technical experts. In other words, what was a concern to some of the CAC members is that, are we capable of overseeing the use of that site and managing and making sure that it's taken care of? If you felt that this large facility needed more oversight than our small building department and zoning enforcement officers can handle, we could require some compensation for that. It's a thought. Because we have not shown a great ability to respond efficiently and effectively to zoning complaints and problems, to my knowledge, so far.
Now, is there any type of consulting firm that just focuses on doing this type of oversight that we could probably maybe consult with to manage something of this nature, rather than having it all on the building department's shoulders?
So I think when we interview the consulting agency firm, I think that's one of the kind of things that they might be able to do for a specified fee, and then we'd know what it would cost to kind of oversee a facility of the size and scale that they propose. That would be my thought, to just get a sense of what would be involved in it. And the same might be at the same time, what Silo Ridge is going to require for an ongoing fees of that nature. Okay, so that's my report.
Well, what would be our next
Step?
step, I mean, what needs to go to Mary Ann Johnson?
What I would suggest is that, is following David Everett's outline, which was to, he says, basically, Denise can start working on that.
On the
that-
text amendment?
Right, in the text amendment, and that in consultation with Mary Ann Johnson, who is familiar with our code and could make sure that it's in keeping. That was his recommendation. We don't have to follow it, but it would seem like it would be a good thing to do because it is going to change how everybody in the OC district would now have the theoretical ability to apply for a special use permit and do composting there. So we want to make sure that we change it in all the places. There are many places where solid waste facility and composting is mentioned.
But not only change, but put in adequate protections.
Right. Right.
Denise, are you familiar enough with this law? Or, I mean, should we use Dave Everett for this?
I think that based on the notes that Dave has given us already, Denise can do a draft. We can have Dave look it over at the end of it. Denise is really good in zoning and
I mean, it's just, you know, we're having two lawyers, one write it, one look it over. I mean, I don't know. I mean, Dave Everett already works with the planning board and the planner. I mean, are we just doing redundant work?
I thought he said that Denise would be, I could ask
You know, I'm
if
just
that
asking.
makes sense, but I believe he said that Denise would be perfectly capable of doing the, providing the suggested amendments and then have our planner look it over. Certainly David Everett is very good also. He could look it over.
Yeah.
If Denise had questions, she could.
they can chat.
Yeah.
We have two very competent attorneys on the payroll here.
So let's
And a
pay both of
planner.
them.
Does that seem right?
Well, actually Denise would be doing the bulk of the work with checking with, if she had any questions with Dave Everett.
I have to check and see if I have that email that he did.
I'll forward it to you
Okay.
tonight. I mean, you can look at this if you have any desire to. And I'll forward you Nina's thoughts also and her comments.
So I believe we need to vote to authorize creating the proposed zoning text amendment through the town planner. If that's what we're deciding to do.
Is that a motion?
Well, I'm
I think-
asking if you're ready to do that at this point.
I don't hear any negatives from the rest of the town board members. So if I wouldn't spend the money, obviously, if we didn't feel that that was in fact in keeping with where we want to go with our OC district townwide. I totally think that the OC districts, one was over by Welsh Sanitation, one is over Aquifer, and that's not appropriate for composting because of its location, and the other one is down in by Whitey's Garage. If there's another one, let me know, but I think that those are the ones that we intended. They have good highway access for trucks. They're not in a high-density residential neighborhood. They're not in a culturally significant historic area. They are appropriate for this kind of industrial, agricultural activities. If it meets the code, and the special use permit will give you that extra protection of, is that appropriate in that location?
So,
Everybody okay with that?
okay with it.
So I'd make a motion that we authorize Denise to begin drafting the zoning text amendment as recommended by David Everett on April 21st.
The Bull for Monty.
It's for all the OC
For the
parcels.
all the OC parcels?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Councilman Delango?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Councilman Prody?
Yes.
And Supervisor Prody.
Yes. Okay, heating system upgrade proposal. We've received a new proposal with the scope of services, including pellet boiler evaluation in addition to the oil boiler valuation. The new total cost is $41,900.
Did you, at the consolidated funding workshop, did you find out whether or not it was at all likely that we would be eligible for a Cleaner, Greener Communities and Renewable Heat grant? Or is that a different grant?
No, I didn't.
You didn't look too specifically into that?
No, it was just a general overview of all the grants.
Okay.
But as part of the proposal, that's something that Morris Associates will be looking into all grants and to see what the details are about the grant, if there will be applicable to the boiler and what we will be doing, and also the criteria of the grants to see if, if we meet all the criteria. So that's part of the grant proposal. Pete Sotero, Morris Associates is here.
Good evening, everybody. Pete Sotero. Yes, as part of what we would do, as the supervisor said, based upon your last meeting on the 21st, you had the presentation there by Mesa Bioenergy. Since then, we've had several conversations, with Ken. In fact, he and I just spoke earlier this afternoon. Talked a little bit about, the grants. There are two potential grant opportunities, as I put in here. The Cleaner, Greener one is a consolidated funding application. The one that's, I don't want to say is a more guaranteed type grant, but again, this is part of what we would be looking into, is the Renewable Heat New York grant, which is administered by NYSERDA. And some of the information that Ken had provided to you previously, I believe that the Cleaner, Greener would cover 80%, and the if you got that one, and then the Renewable Heat New York grant would cover approximately 20%. So it's obviously better. And I don't know yet here. This is part of what we would be checking into. I don't think you can get both, but I'm not 100% sure.
So we had no cost whatever. Yeah,
Pardon
highly
me?
unlikely, right?
Yeah. So I don't
Yeah,
know
it'd be
that.
awesome, but.
Yeah, I don't know that yet. And, as you know, you guys have put in we've put in consolidated funding applications, and, they're competitive. From what I just, the small bit that I know about the Renewable Heat New York grant, I think that would definitely apply to what you're doing. But again, that's part of what we would be looking into. So that I believe there was an upcharge from the April 24th proposal of about $2,400. And this really would not slow up, the process, because there's a lot of work that can be done while, we're looking at this. And then we would come back to the town board, we would write a report, and we would come back and go over our findings. But while that's happening, there's still plenty of other work that can be done. So, it isn't like, I don't want you to think that because we're going to do this evaluation of the pellet boiler, that everything else is going to be on hold, because there's plenty of work to do. We're still going to incorporate 2 out of the 3 would be the oil-fired, so there's still a lot of work that can be done. So it won't really slow anything up. Depending on when your meeting schedules are, we may have to consider, a special meeting just to try to keep things, moving. What are your meetings So you have this one here,
The
tonight.
first and third, but we can do special meetings if we
First
need
and
to.
third? Okay.
First and third Thursdays.
Yeah, first and third Thursdays. Okay. I mean, it's possible we could do something. I don't know, I have my calendar with me here, but I don't know what the first Thursday of July is, if that's around the holiday or not. I don't know if that's something where you may, reschedule that meeting, but that's one that,
That's July
July
Second.
2nd.
July 2nd or the 9th?
Second. Second.
Okay,
That's a
July the
holiday
2nd?
weekend, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, whether you're going to have a meeting then or not because of the 4th, I guess. Good. I mean, so I would think that, if you pass this, tonight, then I would think that that's what we would want to, to shoot for, to try to get something in and be able to have a discussion on the 2nd. That's what we'd like, to shoot for, because obviously this is something that we want to resolve, early on and know which way that we're going, and, we can move on from there. Some of the other things that I had put in my letter that both Ken and I had talked about, that if we do decide that this is something that, is worth it, that is cost effective, that we'll have to get through the municipal, bidding, requirements, because this is not like, Mesa Bioenergy. We can just go ahead and turn around and hand them this part of, the pellet. Boiler has to be part of a package that's put out for competitive bid. Realistically, any contractor that has qualifications to install a pellet boiler, it could be the same contractor that installs, the oil-fired, boiler. Now, they may be able to turn around and hire Mesa Bioenergy as, a sub, but again, that's all stuff that would have to, be worked out, because it's just one thing that we have to be cognizant of if you do, proceed with this. So that's where we are. Time is getting, short. I don't want to think about the heating season yet. I don't think anybody wants to think about, the heating season. But, when we're talking about doing a replacement like this, we really need to start thinking about, the time frame, and it's starting to get, tight. So.
Yeah, we're not just talking about the boilers. We're talking about upgrading the whole heating system.
Yes, correct.
Currently we have 3 heating units that are completely inoperable, and we've had to take 3 radiators from the halls to hook in those particular rooms just to, get heat in the rooms.
Now we're
So-
talking about, the piping and, the units that are going to be within each, area. That's all going to be part of it.
Do you know when the CF funding would be announced? In other words,
Probably not till September,
I
October.
think that somewhere's around the time frame,
Not to
Vicki.
the
Yeah.
fall.
so it would work with
So-
our installation
So
time?
honestly, what I'm thinking, and what Bob Travis and I were talking about, today, that again, we'll look into, could it be a pretty high qualifier? We'll look into that, but you never really know. Obviously, you guys have been for a lot of grants, so you just don't know. So I think
Yeah, we haven't.
we would base that
We've applied for grants through the CFA for the last 2 years.
Yeah,
but
we did the
haven't-
sidewalk one, right? And we didn't get the sidewalk one.
No, we didn't. No, we didn't get the sidewalk one until we applied to the county.
Yeah,
But
through the county.
it's really competitive.
Right. So what Bob and I were thinking about, and we're going to give it some more thought, but in the evaluation that we do, if we think that the New York renewable heat is, I don't know, pick a number, 90% that you're going to get it, maybe we'll do the analysis based upon that one, and then obviously if there was a CFA application made and you got that money, then that would be
Just
icing on the
icing
cake.
on the cake.
But I don't
Right.
know, once
Right.
again, I don't know if you do apply for the, renewable heat, and we'd have to look at, the time frame to apply for that. But in terms of what we're going to give you and to try to figure out whether you want to move ahead with this, I think we should base it on, the grant, that we should not base it on, the CFA. That's,
Right.
my thought,
Too
because.
risky.
Right.
But we need to get the process started, and and I want to get the process started. So I move that we accept the revised proposal for Morris Associates for the replacement of the town hall heating system, and for the cost of total cost of $41,900.
Pete, is there any hidden cost in this? I mean, is there anything that you foresee that you're going to run up against that's going to drive this $41,000?
The only thing that, you know, we put in here, Mike, was that we think, we're not 100% sure, but we think there's probably some asbestos in, you know, the boilers. So we're going to have to hire a company, and I put in here that we would pass those proposals on to you guys to come in and like evaluate, you know, the boilers to see whether there is any in there, because if there is, then obviously that has to be taken into account during, you know, the demo, you know, of these. So
But that would be a separate fee.
yeah, that's something that, you know, and I said that in here, that we would go ahead as part of our fee, that we would get like proposals for that. And you know, we did that up in Hyde Park when we replaced theirs, and if I remember right, it wasn't a huge, maybe it was in the $2,500 like range or something like that. It wasn't like it was going to be a huge number. It's just for a company to come in and do an analysis, you know, an experienced company that like deals with this stuff, and if they have to take a few samples, you know, of things that they think might be asbestos, then they, you know, would do that. And but as part of this, we would go ahead and get those, you know, proposals for you.
Now, realistically, do you think if we start this process now, we're going to be in by the heating season?
It's going to be very, very tight. I'm not going to sit here and say that, you know, it's 100%. We're going to go work as hard as we can, you know, to get it in. It's going to be very, very tight.
I mean, I'm just worried about making haste to try to get into the heating, you know, the heating season, and we're not crossing all our T's and dotting our I's.
Well, the engineer knows how to cross his T's and dot our I's.
I just don't want to rush into something when we're talking $600,000.
What are you referring to, though, in terms of
I just want to make sure that we're looking at all our avenues. We're looking at, you know, you have 3 boilers. Why 3 boilers, not 2 boilers? Why not 4 boilers?
I mean, that's all going to be part of the, you know, design, because, you know, Bob has done this many, many times.
Yeah.
And you know, you definitely want to have redundancy in case one of the boilers goes, you know, down. And so we're not looking to, you know, way oversize anything. We're not looking, you know, we're certainly not looking, you know, to undersize anything. So as part of what he's going to do, he knows all the heating loads, and he'll size, you know, the boilers, and there'll be, you know, like redundancy, because you're going to want to have like redundancy in case one of them goes out for any particular, you know, reason. So I don't think there's anything, you know, hidden here. As I you know had said in here, we're going to get you some proposals for a company to come in and look at the boilers and see if we're going to have an issue with asbestos. And I think we have enough figured in the overall cost of the project that, and even we found some in the one up in Hyde Park, and it was like $10,000, you know, to take it out. It really wasn't that big of a deal. So
your previous presentation, you know, from your firm was very detailed, and he crossed those T's and dotted those I's. And I think, you know, to delay any further would be detrimental to the people in the town of Amenia. We need to do this in the long run. It's going to be better for the town as far as the cost saving is concerned. I think any further delay is just going to put us into a real problem. So as it stands, that's the motion that I made. If I get a second, great. I think we can move forward.
I'll second.
Discussion. My concern is that, you know, $41,000 for this, what line is that going to come out of? $600,000. Where's that money going to come from if we don't get a grant?
We're going to borrow it.
The $41,000 we're going to borrow?
It'll be part of the whole package.
So what you're really asking for isn't approval for hiring Morris Associates, it's the approval to get a loan for the town. What are the details of that?
Okay, so basically what we're doing is we're trying to get a heating system for this building. As far as the building is concerned, we took possession of this building. We knew that it was an older building. We've hired the necessary consultants to go through and analyze what our needs are for this building, and whether we're going to have to borrow money or float a bond or not. This needs to be done. We can't continue to wait and delay and delay and delay. We need to make a move here. We've done all of the homework. We hired a consultant to give us all the information. He wasn't trying to sell us anything because we hired him to tell us all that stuff. So I think at this point in time, I think it's time to move forward and get this done, and get this get things going before things are too late. And whether we're going to have to make a decision and float a bond, we're probably going to have to do that with this building. And it's just the way it's going to have to be. We can try and get grants. It'd be great if we could get both of them. But if it comes down to it, we're going to either have to make that decision. And that's just where we're at right now. And that's where I'm coming from with it.
We've spent a lot of time talking about different types of heating systems and getting different analysis on heat loss and heat savings and heating types. Why don't we spend at least 5 minutes talking about financing? You say you want to get a bond, you say you want to get a loan. What is the background information on that?
We have bond counsel is Douglas Goodfriend from Oric, who's been the Town of Amenia bond counsel for several years. He can guide us through the process of which would be the best way to finance this project. I had a conversation with him today. There's several types of bonds that you can either get through the local bank. There's a bond anticipation note. There's serial bonds, which are more like a mortgage, where you would pay the interest and the principal at the same time. They would be good for the useful life. He thought that the useful life, if you're doing a heating upgrade, would probably be 10 years. So the actual financing, we need to look at the 3 different types of which would be the best way to finance it. There's several different types of bonds to do that.
Let's get that information to us so we can look at it.
Well, we're going to have to borrow either through a bank, through a serial bond, through some other kind of bond, through BAN. There's no reason to delay the proposal to do that. I mean, we don't have that money in the budget. We don't have that much money, that amount of money anywhere. So we know we're going to have to borrow. There's several different ways we can vote to borrow once you get all the information, but we at least need to start the process.
I think that before we go spending money, we should find out where we're going to get money from. There's $57,000 in contingencies. We spent that on Morris Associates. That would leave us 16 if the roof caves in, as it's been doing in parts of the building. I understand we need some roof repairs. That cuts it down even more. We're at the beginning of June, and we need to get to the end of the year. So we could maybe be able to afford the engineering services, but
if you want to take the $41,000 out of contingency, we can do that. But we'd at least need to start the process, whether we take it out of contingency or we build it into the whole loan, whatever you want to do.
I-
Is there any chance that a bond gets refused?
No,
There's no chance.
there's always a chance.
First of all, we don't have any debt.
Victoria's looked into
Delaying
that before, and she
political
mentioned that we
expediency.
don't have debt, and we are in a good position for it.
Doing what's best for the town.
That's not to be denied, but we also don't have the options, haven't been presented to us.
Steve, I'm just asking questions, what's best for the town. This is going to be a lot of money. And I mean, I'm not saying we don't need a heating system. I'm not saying Morris isn't the place to go, but we need a plan. You know, I mean, that's what I'm getting at. And if we're trying to rush this plan to get in the heating system by the winter time, how long have we been in this
We're not
building?
rushing. They've come here, they've given their presentation for months. You've been emailed this stuff for months.
What's the,
Why do you,
Steve,
why
what's
are
the
you delaying this?
presentation?
Do you really want, do you really,
what heaters are we using? What boilers are we using?
Well, that's what he's going to tell us.
We have to design that yet.
He
with
has
the
to,
type of
has to
boilers.
do the design. This is the whole purpose of having him do that, so that we have those answers and we have the plan, and we know how much we have to borrow. I mean, we have to have someone who's reputable and has the background to be able to go in and look and see what we need and do the design and give us the plan.
I mean, you probably have until, in terms of, you know, your bonding, you know, you should be getting, obviously you already have been talking to your bond counsel. But in the next couple of months, you're going to want to get that resolved because...
Well, we need to get it resolved in the next few weeks.
Right,
We
because-
have, you know, because we're going to have to do a bond resolution if,
Right.
you know, if that's what we decide to do.
Right.
But I'm going to be talking to him tomorrow, and he'll give me all the information we need, and I'll pass it on to the board. But we need to start the process. We need
Because-
to get a plan. We need to get the plan so that we know what the dollar amount is that we have to borrow. Right now, we don't. We have a range. We have a range of $475,000 to $525,000. We have a 60-year-old boiler with a failing pump and other failing parts, where it's difficult to even find the parts to even fix it, and it's going to cost the town a fortune in temporary heat. If we don't have something efficient in place that will heat the town hall. I mean, is it a lot of money to spend? Yes, it is. I mean, do we want to spend a lot of money? No, but it is what it is. We have a failing heating system. We have a boiler on its last legs that is very likely not going to make it through the winter without costing several $1,000s in parts, considering the condition of the pump. So we need to move forward. And we need to get have the design done, so that we'll have a plan and can go forward and work on the funding for it.
And we would work together, typically, as we do in other towns, we would work together with your bonding council, because there's a lot of things that go into it, like the expected life of the equipment, because that's going to affect, you know, the bonding. So this is not something that we haven't done, you know, many times. So.
And that's part of, you know, of what they're going to be giving us. They're going to be helping us, you know, seeing where's the best way for us to fund this, whether it's serial bonds, whether it's bond anticipation notes. There's another type bond that's a locally funded bond that he mentioned to me, and that's all part of the process. But we need a design, we need a plan in order to decide or make an informed decision about how we're going to fund this. But we have to start the process.
Is the bond subject to permissive referendum?
Yes.
So we would get an okay theoretically at the November election, or is that?
No,
or
no,
Only
it's
if somebody's passed a
Only
petition?
if you get enough.
only if there's a
Right, once you
petition.
get enough,
Okay.
you know,
First,
petition
with the
signatures.
bond, from what I understand, there's, first there's a 20-day estoppel period,
Yep,
where what you do is you tell the taxpayers, okay, this is the dollar amount we have to spend, this is the dollar amount we're going to have to borrow.
Mhm.
So all that is laid out to the
They
taxpayers.
can decide.
Now, after the 20-day estoppel period, then you go into permissive referendum, so that the taxpayers, after they've looked at everything, the plan, how we're going to, fund the repairs, then there's 30 days where, people can decide, yes, I want my tax dollars to pay for this, or no, I don't want my tax dollars to pay for it. And what happens, I believe it's for a permissive referendum, I believe it's 5%
mhm.
of the
voters, for the
taxpayers.
I always get a little confused. I don't remember if it's the assessed valuation or if it's based on property owners. I don't remember exactly.
Yeah, it's based on property owners, 5%. If they get a petition and say, no, we don't want you to spend this money, then we've got a problem. But we at least needs to start the process. We have to start somewhere.
And we can go out for bid on the plans. It's just we can't, obviously award any contract until, your bonding is done and secured and that, 30-day period, is up and, and all that. So there are things we can do to keep it moving, but it's just, and you do need to get, your bonding in order. That's something that's a priority for
I
you guys.
spoke to our bond counsel. Well, I didn't. I emailed him. I have a meeting with him I'm going to talk to him tomorrow. But first thing we have to do is the actual bond resolution.
Mhm.
Where we lay everything out.
Yep.
And the bond counsel is the one who tells you how to write the resolution, what to put in the resolution. I mean, he does all that.
Mhm.
And for him to, to go ahead and do the bond resolution and tell us what needs to be in it and what our next steps are, I believe he told me it was like $350. But he has been the bond counsel for town of Amenia for many years. He's the bond counsel on the old Amenia landfill project.
So Pete, besides the hazardous material evaluation, 41.9 is the bond
For the
amount.
design services, yep. Yep. If it's, and actually, Mike, if it ends up being less, I believe we said it was going to be an hourly not to exceed price.
Okay.
So the 41.9 is a not to exceed price.
Yes, it does not say it in here, but I will state here for, the record that it will be an hourly not to exceed cost. Yeah, design cost. Now, the construction administration is not in here, and we have pointed that out, that this was only for, the design phase. So, but the construction administration, that shouldn't be that much. So, I mean, that's something we can, provide that at a later point in time.
When we get a firmer number on exactly
Yeah.
what,
I mean, we would estimate,
exactly what this is
we
going
would
to
probably
cost,
have
so
to
we
go
know how
estimate
much to
something.
borrow.
Victoria would probably have to estimate something just for purposes of the bond, so that cost, is factored
Now,
in.
when we do the bond resolution, and, we have the bond amount, you know, we pass the bond resolution, say we put the bond resolution in for $650,000. If the amount we have to borrow is less than that, then we can do that. We can just borrow less than 650 if it comes to like 580 or 590 and that's all we have to borrow.
But if, like most construction projects, it's more than that?
If it's more than that, we can't add to it, which is the reason why we need to have Morris Associates start the process, do the homework to tell us how much it's going to cost so that we can, you know, if we need to, we can build more into that so that we know what we're going to borrow.
I mean, we just did a pretty similar type system where we did the, just about the exact same thing for the new Columbia County Courthouse. Not the new, you know, the renovated Columbia County.
Yeah, I think it's been there a long time.
Yes, it has been there a long time, so, you know, the renovation of that is pretty much the same type of system that, you know, we're talking about here, unless we incorporate, you know, the pellet, the one pellet boiler. So I think Bob's got a pretty good handle on, you know, the cost, but again, we'll be able, you know, to fine tune that once we get in and start picking what the actual, you know, equipment is, so.
When you say bullet number 2, review cleaner, greener communities and renewable heat in New York grant potential to offset costs, would that include assisting our grant writer in preparing the materials that he would need?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's
You
fine.
would be able to help
Yeah, I
him.
mean, I'm not worried about that.
Okay.
It's not
a big deal.
That's
It's
not a
just
big
that-
deal, no,
We want to
No,
make sure
that's
that we're
not a
not
big
left
deal.
high and dry
No.
trying to put this in on our own.
no.
Okay. Well, I then would second.
I did.
It's been
Oh,
made
it's already
and
been
seconded.
seconded. Okay, sorry.
Roll call.
Councilman Delango?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
And the money for this is coming out of contingency?
If that's where you want it to come from.
Want to make sure the man can get paid?
Okay.
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Councilman Perotti?
Yes.
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So we're going to shoot to be back in touch with you guys before your July meeting as far as the evaluation of the pellet boiler. Because we want to keep this, you know, moving. And then, you know, Victoria will talk about, you know, the bonding, because we're going to need to keep in close contact on
Yes.
that too. Okay, thank you. Have a good night.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in, Pete. Transfer funds resolution. Now, would that still be
15. 'cause
still
we
15?
we never seconded it in no roll call.
No, it's the same thing. These are the account numbers, and these don't exist in the budget. I'm not even voting for something that doesn't exist.
You want to share what you're saying?
Nope. I'm just asking if this was the same thing we
Yeah, it is.
tried, and did we find out if these numbers exist or not?
Yes, they do.
These are all the numbers that are in the budget. These numbers do not exist in this document.
Did you look in the operating statement?
This is our budget for our town that I pulled. That's the one we approved at the beginning of the year. These numbers do not exist here.
These are general accounting numbers.
Yes, I
Am
know
I
that,
correct?
Stephen.
And they do exist.
And so that means they exist.
They don't exist in our budget, our town budget.
If you want to set up a time to meet with the bookkeeper and she can explain it to you, Gretchen, you can do that anytime.
That's very sweet of you to offer her time. I believe she works for the supervisor, though.
Yeah, I know.
And the town
No.
board members don't get to make plays on her time.
Sure you do. You can ask the bookkeeper anything you want at any time, any town board member.
Thank you.
That's a ridiculous
I appreciate
statement to
that.
make.
Vicky,
It's always been that way.
Vicky, do you know if these numbers are in the budget line?
I recognize the description of them. So, for instance, the contingency line is obvious. Community, other home and community.
Other home community doesn't exist.
Well,
It's a created one.
That's my point.
they
It
had to
doesn't
add that in the
exist.
budget.
Neither does 218901.
Oh, boy.
So special recreation facilities instructor, we've had that forever and ever. And the youth aid, was in there.
Yeah, those are in there.
You have to do a
Building
budget
permits is
amendment
in
to add
there.
lines.
Superintendent of highway contracts is in there. Senior trips, programs for the aged, historian.
And the historian's in there.
Yeah,
Property and maintenance, I think
but
these.
but
They're all
but
there.
these three aren't in there.
Sure they are.
Okay, so you're gonna read the resolution?
What?
You wanna read the resolution or you want?
I'd like to talk to the bookkeeper and let her explain it to me, because Gretchen says the lines aren't there, they're not in the budget sheet. Victoria, you said the lines are in there. I mean,
Well, anybody can go talk to the
All right.
to the
All right, well, we're
bookkeeper
still gonna need to
anytime, and they've
transfer
always
these
been
funds,
able
so
to.
these bills need to get paid.
And if that's what you'd rather do before we pass it, that's fine.
all right, thank you.
We already did the water district pump house gutters, code enforcement officer uniforms, interviews, I'm sorry. We did the county requires that since we increased the code enforcement officer hours from 20 hours to 30 hours, they sent us a list of people on the county list that we had to do a canvass. They sent us the forms that we needed to send out to them. They had so many days to get back to us. So we sent the canvass letters out to the 18 candidates that were on there. We didn't receive any back saying that they wanted a position mainly because of geographic location or compensation. So at that point, it means that the list is broken and that we could hire off the list. Now, we do have a resolution in place that was passed several years ago that said all open positions had to be advertised. And this hasn't been advertised. We just went through the county process. So we're going to need to advertise it for at least a week. So I'd like to make a motion to authorize the town clerk to advertise Building Inspector 1, which is the county name for this position, in the Millerton News for a week in order to meet that criteria. And then at that point, we'll see what we have and we'll schedule interviews.
Now, are we considering what the planning board said about John Fenton?
No, this is only for,
No, I know, but I mean, if we do take on Fenton to do Silo Ridge, can we put this back down to 20 hours instead of 30 hours?
the point, well, we could play with the hours, but we don't really know if that's gonna, if that's enough hours for everything that's going on right now. It isn't just Silo Ridge. There is a lot of interest in Troutbeck, and we don't know what the increased activity there will be. I think what he was asking for is for John Fenton to work however many hours just to do Silo Ridge,
Mm-hmm.
and that whoever we hired would do everything else, because Silo Ridge doesn't look like it's going to be the only project we're going to have. especially if, if something with Troutbeck.
But I guess what I'm getting at, since the 30-hour-a-week list is broken, can't we put it back to 20 hours a week, and if we have to hire another deputy or something like that?
I don't know if we can,
Well, if we have a
I don't know if we could have
If we
two
have to hire
deputies.
another deputy, I would rather hire someone other than John Fenton.
I don't think we should be talking about this in open.
That's just
meeting.
my personal belief system. That's what I.
But we still need to advertise the position.
But now, are we going to advertise for a 30-hour-a-week, or are we just going to advertise for a building inspector?
Well, we have we already voted to make it 30 hours.
Okay.
So that's what it is at this time.
But because the list hasn't worked, we could accept people that aren't on the list.
Right. That or the proposal we had.
Did we ever figure out where we're getting the extra 10 hours of money from, since that line never was given the extra funding for that?
The only place I could think that we would take it from would be contingency.
Well, you only have 16,000 left in there. Is that going to get you through to the end of the year?
Probably.
I'm sure we'll figure out a way, and we always usually do. But I think at this point, I think we need to continue with the process with the county, and I'm going to second that motion
To advertise.
to advertise.
Councilman Delango?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Councilman Perotti?
Yes.
And Supervisor Perotti.
Yes. Other matters? Nothing? Public comment?
I just have two more brief things. Regarding with the gutters and the drainage, Mike Jastrzemski asked me to look into what the availability is of rain barrels from Cornell Cooperative Extension, because they're doing a whole thing on rain barrels now. So I am going to look into that. It may be that we can have that paid for through the grant that we're working with you on for the stormwater. So I just wanted to let you know I'm going to research rain barrels.
Do we need to meet again? Because we haven't met in a while.
Well, I asked Mike about that, and he said that he was working directly with Larissa to get the because Parkatech has to do their thing first. The playground has to be built first before we can install that rain garden. So there's a DEC permitting process that he's helping Larissa with right now. So I think it's sort of up to the DEC to get this permit, and then Parkatech can proceed and do the building.
But we could do the rain garden before that, because the rain garden is going to take care of the runoff.
We can do that before that? Okay, see,
Yeah, I don't know.
I asked him,
Or
and
do
he
we,
seemed
is
to
that
think,
part of the permit?
he
Chris, do you
seemed
want
to
to get
think
up
that
here
we
so
can't do it
can
until the
get an
playground's
idea here?
installed. Pardon?
We've got the recreation chair right here.
Oh, yeah, you might know more about this than I do, because you've been in touch.
More than I
Chris
do.
Magna, Recreation Chair. What we agreed on when Mike was here was we were going to get the playground in first. This way, at no point do we trample on what was going to be made with the rain garden. And this way, rain garden's in, we don't have to worry about anything else.
But
So,
is
playground
is there a time we have to use the grant by?
That I'm going to have to find out. I think that it's open-ended for a couple of years, but I'll double check.
Is it? Good.
Yeah. It's
Well, that's the only thing I
Yeah, that's-
wanted to look at. Now, as far as the playground goes, where are we with that? We're still with the DEC?
Yes, we're still waiting for the DEC.
Okay.
Okay,
So right now, we're at the mercy of the DEC.
we're at the
before we
mercy of
move
the
far.
DEC. We're in sort of a limbo. It's not always pleasant. And then I have a quick letter I'd like to read you from Dee Dee Barrett, who I met with on her diner stop tour at the Irving Farm. And I was able to talk to her about the 10 Mile River watershed plan that we're working on. So here's what she says. Dear Tonya, June 1st. I appreciate you coming in to talk about the watershed plan for the 10 Mile River. A watershed designation would make all the communities along this river eligible for major grant funding to ensure sustainable development and protect the environment for future generations. Typically, the first step would be to get all the towns on board with letters or resolutions that indicate interest in this project. After that, we can continue our discussion on next steps for legislation. Please let me know if you have any questions. Thank you again for joining us. Please do not hesitate to call if we can be of any other assistance. Dee Dee Barrett, Member of the Assembly, 106th District. Dee Dee was the one who presented to the New York State Senate for the Wappingers watershed, who got this inland designation. So she's familiar with I guess she did the process. That's why when I had a very brief meeting with her up in Millerton, I mentioned this to her. So she wrote me a nice letter back. The town of Northeast has now signed a resolution. So is Dover, and Pauling's in process with theirs. They're having Barbara Kendall do a presentation. I just wanted to bring you up to date on the process. So we were, she also said that we would have to get our interests expressed so that she could go before the legislature with it in January of next year. So we will probably come back to you and ask for you to reconsider being part of this watershed-wide effort. So I may have Mike do that because he's very familiar with it. But okay. I was able to talk to, actually what I'm planning on doing, if it's helpful for you guys, is a little gathering over at the new Old Drovers Inn so that all the officials can come and ask questions. And then we'd have Barbara Kendall, we'd have Mike Herzog, who did this in town of Millbrook for the Wappingers Creek. And we'd do a follow-up on what are the priorities for us as a region for our area that we'd like to explore getting major grant funding for. So I'm talking to Jeff Muncie about trying to find a date in the fall when we can put together a watershed forum. So I think that would probably answer all of your guys' questions.
Okay.
And but I just wanted to let you know that's what her feedback was. And also Mark Molinaro was very supportive, and he said that he would forward this. It has to go to the Dutchess County Legislature first and then to the New York Senate for us to get this designation that would enable us to have major funding as an inland waterway. Right now, all the air in the room is sucked out by the Hudson River. So the 10 Mile River deserves to get some funding too in New York. That's it. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Town board comments?
All right. Who wants to go first?
You do.
I guess I'm going first. Come one, come all to the Amenia Fire Company's carnival. What we were doing is we are having a raffle. We are trying to do our annual fundraiser here. First prize is a 5,500 watt Generac generator with generous support from Reardon Briggs in Pleasant Valley, New York. Second prize is $300 in cash. Third prize is a $100 gas card and one oil change at Conklin's Garage in Amenia, New York. Fourth prize is a $100 gas card and one oil change at Conklin's Garage in Amenia. Fifth prize is lunch for two at Back in the Kitchen. And sixth prize is a handmade Afghan donated by Elizabeth Stossel. You can pick up, you can buy 6 tickets for $5 or buy a ticket for $1 each, and the town clerk will have these at her office for anyone who wants to buy. And I would encourage you to purchase your tickets to support the Amenia Fire Company. The drawing will be on June 20th at our annual carnival. I believe our carnival goes from the 17th
through the 20th.
To the 20th, and the parade night is the 19th.
And fireworks on the 20th.
And fireworks are on the 20th.
New date this year.
Yeah,
Don't
new
forget.
date.
Thank you.
I just wanted to ask where we were headed with the newly formed committee on moving forward the kitchen project. I was forwarded an article that was in oh gosh, where was it published? It's, the title of it was Food Lab Detroit is Baking Equity into the City's Burgeoning Food Scene. But I think we do have to do quite a bit of research to see what it is that we have on our plate, what's been proposed, what the pros and what the cons are. And
We had requested the grant information and the background information from Mike Haggerty, and he said he would get us that information the Saturday following our previous town board meeting. That never happened.
okay, do we need to wait for that to
Yes, we do.
meet?
That's got the outline and the promises of the whole thing, so we need to have that.
So that sounds good. This I can forward to you if you like. It has some information about Detroit had some local entrepreneurs who are interested in trying to revitalize their the lost jobs and the financial crisis that's obviously an issue there to a greater extent than anything we've felt here. But they found that this commercial kitchen that they had used a lot of grants to actually build, Surdna Foundation, J.P. Morgan Chase, United Way. There are local funds that could help work with this, but I think what we need to do is do a lot more homework, and I don't believe it's just going to be Mike Haggerty. I think we need to do our own research as well. But I think it has a lot of potential, and I'm looking forward to seeing something happen sooner rather than later so that we can be ready to move.
And the way I think of it is, we also have a lot of people that live in this community that enjoy the scenic vistas and the beauty, come up here on a regular basis, that have a lot of money and it'd be nice if we could get some private donations from them as well.
So yeah, Vicki, I'd be interested in reading that article.
Okay. I'm going to hand it to you just for now, but
Thank you.
okay. And as far as meets and bounds, I in April promised to contact Ian Holback about the missing portion of the map for our new soil mining overlay, and since he was the latest addition and provided us for no fee his meets and bounds that added to that, I'm continuing to work with him. I just emailed him the information that we got from the county planning and development office, and hopefully he will have it forwarded on to Roy Budnick or whoever prepared his meets and bounds for him so that he can fill in the missing puzzle piece. That's all I have.
Vicki,
What did I do?
can you read that? It's from Christine. Christine
Why
Ford?
don't you? This is you.
This is all me.
This is for you.
This is for me.
She's asking you to do this.
Okay, I will do this. What Christine Ford would like to let everyone know is to let the public know that she will be doing Babe Ruth and Connie Mack signups this Saturday and next Saturday at the ball field from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Well, since we're doing announcements, Recreation Camp is doing their sign-ups on the 8th and the 10th here at the Town
Yeah.
Hall from 5:30 to 6:30. Any other recreation announcement? Anything else?
I just wanted to send out a reminder to the committees to forward the minutes and the agendas to the town clerk so that they can be appropriately filed according to our MU1 requirements by the state and posted appropriately on the website. Speaking of the website, I would like to remind Mr. Flint, Mike, to forward the slides so they can be posted on the website. He's saluting. He's not coming out in front of the camera. So we can have that information disseminated to people who don't have the Channel 22 service at their homes. Victoria, I've asked you a couple times for a welcome message for the web. You said you were going to put one together.
I have, I sent emails to, I'm working with Betsy Strauss. She's getting me some information. I wanted to get a blurb about each hamlet, so that in the welcome message I could have, you know.
We could cycle through them, because I mean,
Yeah.
it's a real small
Yeah.
space that we have
Because
there.
I wanted to be able to put each hamlet in it, so I can send you what I have so far, and, you know, we can figure out a way to.
We can always
put
change
in.
it if you can just send me something that
Okay,
makes us, you know, sound like we're people instead of an announcement board.
yeah,
That'd
well,
be-
that's what I did, and I wanted to have all the hamlets included.
Yeah,
So I've gotten that, I got that from the Historical Society.
terrific. Dawn Marie, thank you about the summer camp. People have been asking, so I will, and thank you for sending me the announcement for that earlier today. I will get that up on the website, and we'll get that out to the Amenia Wasaic community page.
Kathleen did drop off some of the applications just this afternoon. They're out as soon as you walk into the building. They're on the right-hand side.
On that bookcase. Terrific. And then I guess the last thing is, I was listening to the board meeting as I was coming to the board meeting tonight, and I just want to remind the board that it is against our state law to set meeting times specifically to exclude board members. You can look it up. There have been cases against it. I am available all day, Tuesday the 9th, to meet at any time for a special meeting. And as always, I'm available any non-board meeting night at 7:30 to attend a special meeting. I made this very clear several times throughout the course of the year, and I understand the objection. However, that's just the way it is. So I just wanted to put that out there for y'all. Thank you very much.
Do you have anything, Mike?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Oh, did we mention the ham and strawberry dinner?
No, we need to do that.
The ham and strawberry dinner is on Saturday the 6th at Smithfield Presbyterian Church. So give them a call, make reservations. Darlene Reamer tells me it is a delicious meal with excellent strawberry shortcake and delicious ham. So that's this Saturday. That's all.
Okay, and the other thing we should mention, or we'd be remiss in not mentioning, is the Strawberry Festival will be Saturday, June 13th. The library at that time also has their bacon book sale. And all the festivities, I believe, start at 10 o'clock. So bring your appetite and your baked goods, and if you want to get books, get a good book to read, it's a place to do that, and it's a wonderful community event and supports the church and also supports the library. And at this time, I'd like to make a motion to come out of regular session and go into executive session for pending litigation.
I'll second that.
Councilman Delango?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Councilman Prody?
Yes.
And Supervisor Prody.
Yes.
And in part of that motion?